think anytime there's a misconception, we do well to see if we can set it straight, at least for our own sense, and maybe possibly when it comes up later on, we can speak to it and get people to realize possibly that they have a misconception as well. One of the misconceptions I see regarding divorce, and I think it comes out of the place of where we're just trying to make the best of the situation and feel like maybe there's something good in this, is the misconception is that it was a mutual decision that both parties wanted out of the marriage. I think that is really rare. For everyone that leaves, my opinion is for everyone that leaves, and from what I see, for everyone that leaves, there is somebody that wanted them to stay. And who would that be? That would be the former spouse. That would be the relatives. It would be the aunts and uncles. It would be the group of people that were gathered there that day when they got married. It would be the community. There's just so many people that are really get involved in our marriages, and they look at their own marriage and hope that ours works out, because it becomes a kind of a crumbling cookie thing. They wonder if theirs is going to work out eventually too. So there's a lot of people that want the marriage to stay together, and the people that are most impacted, those that are the closer you get to the center of the circle, those are the ones that are most impacted. So usually it is a spouse, and usually it's going to be the kids. They are going to be impacted. There's no question about that. I remember being at work when I first started a job, and there was a gentleman that was one of the production leaders, and he and I got there first. Nobody else had arrived. We were in front of this white board, and he was writing away about the events that we were going to talk about that morning, and he was almost like I wasn't there. He's writing, and he goes, I should have never left her. He goes, it didn't turn out to be that great of a deal. I lost money in the thing, and he said the new wife is not necessarily that much better than her, and he said to himself, I don't know if he noticed I was there or not. After all these years, I forget how exactly that was, but he said, I should have never left her. So what do we do when we hear about people that are breaking up? Should we say anything? Should we just remain quiet? Should we speak up for the ones that can't speak up for themselves? A story that always impacts me when I think about it is there was a couple that I knew in a small town that we lived in, and they had a son. They had two sons. One of them, the older son, got leukemia, and it was like, I don't know, it was like maybe 18 months or less before it eventually took his life. But at the time, there was a lot of hope, and the community was doing things for them and cooking meals and doing whatever, praying for them, that whole thing, and but eventually leukemia took the young man's life, and there were people that were involved for few more days or months after that, but pretty much then everybody goes back to what they're doing, and this couple was left to themselves. And they just sorrowed in two entirely different ways. The husband went back to work and buried himself in his work. And there were some practical reasons for that. His work had given him a lot of time off. And the wife was more alone than she wanted to be, and she kind of did a spiral in, and alcohol became a part of the situation, and it just didn't work out well. So they divorced. And one's living now up in the northern part of up in like North Dakota, South Dakota, and the other one's stayed in Idaho where he had his job. So what do you say? Nobody really said much of anything. Some people that knew him sorrowed. They were sad for the situation, but there was one person that eventually spoke up. Their son, their younger son, I'm going to name him. His name is Hunter. Their younger son was home one time from visit where he was with his mom. He came home to see his dad, and his dad was, he's divorced, right? His dad was dating somebody at the time. And during the course of that evening, Hunter had enough fortitude to pull his dad aside and say, what are you doing? And it was not just like a casual thing. He said, it's like, hey, I think behind it all was, this is our family, and like, what are you doing? So the father took the date home, called her later, said, I think I've got some things I need to think about. I'm going to hold off here for a little while, and I can give a bunch of details. But eventually I saw him at a gathering, and he and his wife had come back together again and gotten remarried. And the key behind that was a 13-year-old young man that had the willingness to say, hey, what's going on here? So I think there's a place where we can't cross lines and get obviously up into people's faces about their lives. But I think we need to remember that it is a misconception that two people, both of the people involved, are completely 100% for this. And the second thing that might be a possibility if the door opens up is that you could just share, just simply, of you guys really thinking about this. How about, the people that love you? I met a person a little while back, and they were visited their relatives, and they were taking her pictures down and putting the new wife's pictures up, and but they, and looking at her picture, they told her, "We still miss you." I mean, people really miss these people, and so what can we do? I think number one, just understand it's a misconception that both people are involved in this, and second of all, maybe somebody should speak up for those that don't have the courage or not old enough or mature enough to speak up. And the last thing that I firmly believe, if it's any help, and I think it should be, is that we don't have to just zip from marriage right into divorce. I mean, I would encourage somebody to slow down, think about it, consider separation for a year or two or longer. There's nothing that divorce is going to accomplish that separation couldn't easily do without, and save a lot of money, unless you're just already got somebody in mind, which is terrible, and you're going to go off and be with that person. But if it's just a legitimate problem in the marriage, slow down. Separation is okay. There is a place in between. It's the forgotten option. There is a place in between marriage and divorce where you can stop and think about it. And I just really encourage people to do it. It's a 2,000-year-old principle and longer, to just stop and think about it, because there is so much involved. And you may possibly someday be like that supervisor that I was standing next to on that whiteboard that morning that said, "Hey, what did I do? I should have never done it." Don't want that to be you. So avoid the misconception that two people really agree on it. There's generally one or more that is going to be broken by this. And if you can be a way or be a part of helping a person to stop and slow down and really think about it before they pull the trigger of breaking a family relationship up for good, I hope you'll find a way to say something constructive and loving. My name is Ken Conley. I'm the author of a book called The Forgotten Option. As always, we hope these videos are an encouragement to you.